Welcome to another edition of the Insider Mailbag. I'm Jared Johnson. I'm joined by the Mighty Joe Yeager. Mighty Joe, man, it's been a bit since we've done a mailbag. I thought there's been so much going on. This might be a good time to maybe answer some questions that our subscribers might have. So here we are. So let's dive right into it. We chose 5 of them. First one comes from Red Raider KA, who wants to know what our opinion is of Coach Matt Wells and if we think Kirby Hocutt made a good hire.
Well, we're going to have to see him play some games,
right.
Obviously. But I feel good about a couple of things from Wells. First off, this football program needed to do a 180 from Cliff Kingsbury. And you've got that in Coach Wells. He's a totally different kind of a guy, totally different sort of a personality from all different perspectives.
Every angle.
Right, however you want to look at it. And this program needs an infusion of toughness. And I think there's at least the possibility that Wells, coming down from his personality and everything else, recognizes that and will be able to add some of that to the program. So I feel good about that. And then I think there's been a boost from these grad transfers that have come in. That shows me that there's a pulse on the recruiting scene. I mean, recruiting is not just high school guys anymore. I mean, these transfers are so important, and you got 3 really good ones who have every possibility of really helping the team next year. And Watts, also the guy,
Atlanta,
who's a major coup there. So those things right there have me feeling reasonably good right now.
Yeah. Here's a couple of things, like you said, they haven't played a game yet. And honestly, I don't expect the results to be all that great. I know that's not what y'all want to hear, but first off, there's not a lot of talent on the roster. I know some people argue with me on that, but there's just not. Go see him in person. Would you agree with that? I mean, it's just the truth. There is some talent, but compared to like other Power 5 schools, no, it's really down, even in a down overall Big 12. But here's what I like from what I've seen from Wells and what I've heard from sources and people around him. First off, he's feisty, like a coach. You know what I mean? Like he seems like a coach. The toughness factor that you mentioned. I was talking to people that have been in the program, so this is them admitting this, and they are still in the program, that say, bottom line is, this has been a finesse program. It's been a soft, sensitive program. I mean, it's filled with, don't get me wrong, there's some tough guys. Like, I would never want to meet Broderick Washington down a dark alley, stuff like that. I'm not saying there aren't tough guys, but I just mean overall, both mentally, mostly mentally actually, it's been a soft finesse team. And that's what Matt Wells is trying to change. When you hear him say things like, we got to learn how to practice and those kind of, it's all about being mentally tough, and then eventually, it translates into being physically tough on the field. I think he's in the process, him and his staff, of changing that. It's going to take a while. And they're going to have to recruit their guys, too. Another thing is the communication within the program, night and day, compared to, like, there used to be this whole complicated chain of command of who you could talk to and when. That's not the case anymore. It truly is like an open door policy with the coaches and players and personnel and people on the staff. It's very different. I'm not saying it's all perfect over there at the football facility, but a lot of the things that I've heard has me optimistic that they could build towards some success down the line. That's my best answer for it. All right, next one comes from Mal Raider, who wants to know, what's the goal for the basketball team next year? Sweet 16? My answer is simple, so I'm going to jump in here. Win the whole freaking thing. That's my goal. That's what I consider every year. But yeah, I guess Sweet 16 is baseline.
Yeah, right, yeah. Yeah, which sounds nuts to say, but I mean, as long as Beard is here, that's the case. Look, they've done everything but win the national championship. You were within one defensive possession of winning the national championship. So, I mean, that's the standard now. That's the benchmark. Yeah. And so I would say that if Texas Tech finishes off this recruiting class with TJ Holyfield, then I think that Tech is going to be right there again, and look out.
Yeah, and they have several candidates, which we'll get into later here in the mailbag and some other content. But, yeah, I mean, I like Holyfield. And to me, Beard is, I've said this, he's a force of nature. He's going to get what he wants. And the last 2 years, Tech has lost to the national champion with 2 very different rosters. You know what I mean? Like we've said it a million times, and other people have, they probably would have gone to the Final Four if they just had been in a different bracket than anyone other than Villanova 2 years ago. So, crazy. All right, Midnight 54 wants to know, is there a concern that Tech doesn't have a banger bruiser down low next to compete in the Big 12? That's kind of what you were alluding to with Holyfield, which would help. But what do you think, Joe?
You know, Tech may have a bruiser banger by the name of Josh Mballa.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not afraid of contact. I can assure you that. He's a physical guy. He's an athletic guy. He has some skills. And he's about 6'7", at least 215. And I expect him to be ripped.
like a
yeah.
tough dude.
And he's going to be even bigger than that with another year with Riley over there. So, I mean, he's got the components and the tools to be an interior banger for you. For him, it's just a case of becoming more of a polished player, developing his skills, learning the game a little bit more and what Beard and those guys want. And if he does that, then that's kind of your banger guy right there. And I think he could give you 15 minutes of Odiase type ball there, and you'd be thrilled.
Tech has some tough guys returning too. Kyler Edwards, he's a tough guy. He really is. Just because he didn't like to play defense in high school doesn't mean he's not tough. He showed he can be. I mean, Deshaun Corprew, look, that's another one of those guys you don't want to meet down a dark alley. You know what I mean? Like, he's tough as it gets, man. Guys like Jamias Ramsey. Now, you asked for big men. I hear what you're saying, but I'm just saying they're going to be long. Honestly, I'd be surprised if they're not a better rebounding team next year, which sounds crazy, but I think they could be a better rebounding team because I think they're going to have more overall length on the team and athleticism, which is crazy because they were so long and athletic and all that last year. But it's going to be an interesting roster, interesting team, and I do think one more big guy, a solid big guy, would help. But whatever they roll with, I'm going to feel pretty confident at this point with Chris Beard at the helm. All right, Let It Fly wants to know, is Kirby's Hocutt's contract as good of shape as Tech's as Beard's is? He said he's worth keeping at almost all costs pending a football resurgence in the next 3 years. That's quite the qualifier there at the end. Mm-hmm. He said basically as long as Tech has a resurgence in football the next 3 years, he's worth all the costs. Well, I think with this new contract, with the stipulation of Beard's buyout being cut in half, if Hocutt is no longer with Tech, I think it doesn't even, that just basically takes away all the pressure from the football program. Now, look, don't get me wrong, he'll take flack if the football program doesn't come around, but I don't think it would cost him his job, which normally if you strike out with two coaches back to back on football program, especially in Texas, that's all she wrote for an athletic director. But this is a unique case. Bottom line is Kirby's Hocutt's contract is one of the top ones in the country. He's paid very well. I believe this is either his third or fourth contract. The last one was signed at the end of 2017, December of 2017. I believe it paid him was for 8 years, over $11 million. Like I said, which makes him one of the highest paid athletic directors in the country. So, I mean, he may be getting a new one, or they may have already negotiated a new one, but I believe he got like 3 contracts in 2 years or something. So, I mean, it's competitive, and it's not that long ago that he got a new contract. So, he's had, just like Chris Beard, he's had several other schools come around, trying to pry him out of Texas Tech. And his family's here, his kids in school. I think you're in a pretty good place with Chris Beard at Texas Tech.
Sure. But if I'm a regent, chancellor, president, whatever, just to be on the safe side, just in case somebody comes, I have a plan B. I have something in place so that, hey, all right, they want you, Kirby. Well, boom, take a look at this. Yeah. This is what we got ready for you. You always need to be prepared for any sort of eventuality. You don't know what's going to happen. You want to stay ahead of the game. So I'm hoping those guys are proactive just in case something comes along, so they've got something ready to go. I think that would be prudent.
All right, final question comes from TTU Sargent, who wants to know which potential recruit would be your choice to fill the last remaining basketball scholarship and why. Now, first, before we answer that, I just want to say, let's be careful about saying that it's the last remaining scholarship. Now, yes, there is, as we know right now at the numbers, one scholarship open. But like I've said, I don't know how many times, I keep saying it because I don't think it really sinks in with people because people just like to count. People like it nice and neat. And I completely understand that, but that's not the reality of the situation, in my opinion, and that's proven out every year that Chris Beard's been here. To be honest, there's been a lot of guys who have moved on to other places, and Tech has brought guys in their spot. Look, Tech is going to be aggressive with the roster. That doesn't mean they're just going to throw guys in the gutter. They're going to try and help them find the best situations for them. But if they're obviously not going to play and they want playing time, and Tech sees somebody else that could come in and fill their spot, they're going to do that. They're going to be aggressive. It's big time basketball, and so it's not just one scholarship. But hypothetically, if we're got to answer, there's only one scholarship to fill. Who are you filling it with?
Well, this name R.J. Hampton kind of popped up like literally just immediately, almost before we started shooting this, as a matter of fact. So you probably actually know more about R.J. than I do. So if you want to talk about him, you can have R.J. I'm going to go ahead and stick with what I had coming in. And this is a guy who wouldn't be eligible immediately, but Nasir Brooks.
Wow. You really like him. I think you like him more than anybody I've seen.
He's about 6'11", tough mother, out of Philadelphia. All right. Yeah. You know how I like the East Coast guys. East Coast, I take my Texas card away from me or whatever. But I watched Cincinnati. That's where he would be transferring from. Played quite a bit this past year, and that's a hard-nosed program, kind of like Texas Tech in a lot of ways. Really defensive-minded program, and Brooks is just, he was just about, except for Jaron Cumberland, was maybe the best player on that team, and really just a rugged, long guy. He would sit out and be eligible next year, and I think he would just be absolutely what this program loves and needs, and those kinds of 6'11" guys like him are very rare. Sure. God doesn't make too many of them, so that would be my choice.
That's a good choice. I think a lot of people, greedy folk like perhaps myself, don't want to wait for a year. Yeah, right. So I would have gone with T.J. Holyfield, like you said before this recent announcement, because I think they do need a big. I think he's a perfect fit for next year as far as a spot to fill. He's an efficient offensive player, but he can play defense and block shots. Exactly. So he'd be a good fit. But it's not so often that you get a shot at a 5-star prospect. Like you said, R.J. Hampton is reclassified to 2019. He's replaced. Well, he had a Final Four teams list of Kansas, Memphis, Kentucky, and Duke. He replaced Duke with Tech on that list. So just think about that, all right? Who you're battling for, the basketball royalty that you're in the mix for with a 5-star recruit.
That's you would be absolutely thrilled to get him. Come on, that's a no-brainer. So not saying you don't have a brain, Jared, but yes, that's. But listen, hey, these are the sorts of guys that you're going to start seeing popping up with Texas Tech now, because it's just now that national championship title game run is beginning to pay off in the world of recruiting. And so this is just the start of it right now, and you're going to see this with this next recruiting cycle. You may see 2 or 3 other guys of a similar caliber with Tech right there in the running for.
This is going to be far and away, no matter who they add to it, the best recruiting class really in Texas Tech football or basketball history, period. The one they're finalizing right now over the next couple of weeks. I fully expect the next one to be even better. Yeah. I think it's going to be top 10, if not top 5. Combination of the last two tournament runs, Big 12 championship, Beard just as a recruiter, look what he's done already before having this cachet, plus the new contract that he's here. And then the new practice facility being built. Come on. It's a slam dunk. They're going to crush it. I can't wait to cover it, to get to talk about it with y'all and write about it and talk about it with you, Mighty Joe. So we're going to be all over it. Stay tuned. Great stuff from you as always, Joe. Great questions from y'all. And until next time.